program now. The Syrian government also knows who these groups are. On Tuesday, Syrian government warplanes targeted the headquarters of the Syrian Revolutionary Front. Now, we hear reports from activists the commander escaped, but his daughter and his wife did not.
Finally, Deb, do U.S. officials really know any more about these moderate rebels than they did, say, a year ago when they first started talking about arming and training them?
They know quite a bit. It's an open secret that U.S. officials work with the rebels in military operations rooms, both in Jordan and here in southern Turkey. U.S. aid agencies work with some of these rebels through moving humanitarian aid over the border. There is a constant vetting project that goes on with CIA agents determining who are the moderate rebels. That process has brought them into direct contact with Syrian rebels. The change in attitude about these rebels seems to be coming from Washington.
That's NPR's Deborah Amos speaking to us from Turkey. Deb, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And Congress is expected to vote this week on whether to approve the president's request to arm and train the rebels that Deborah Amos just told us about. What is much less clear is whether Congress will formally vote on U.S. military action against ISIS, which is being carried out as we speak. Yesterday, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey, said he would recommend putting U.S. troops on the ground against ISIS if airstrikes were not enough to defeat the militant group. Dempsey was speaking to the Senate Armed Services Committee, and one of its members joins us on the line now, Senator Tim Kaine, Democrat of Virginia. Senator, good morning.
Good morning.
So General Dempsey seemed to catch some people by surprise, especially because the president has said no U.S. ground troops are on the table. You are introducing legislation that seems like it would limit the scope of the president's military options. Could you tell me exactly what you're trying to do?
Absolutely. Well, first, I strongly believe that the president needs the support of Congress for this entire mission. He indicated, and others with the administration, they think they have ample legal authority for most of it, but they would welcome congressional involvement. I think Congress has to be involved in this. And so what I've done is I've drafted for the discussion of the Foreign Relations Committee an authorization for use of force that does four things, but also has four limitations. The four things that are authorized are the four pillars of the president's presentation last week. Obviously, we all support humanitarian relief to refugees in this circumstance, but with respect to military action or military support, it has three elements: counterterrorism activities, airstrikes of the kind described by the president, and support for ground troops in the region fighting ISIL, whether it's vetted Syrian opposition, the Iraqi security forces, the Kurdish Peshmerga. So those are the four elements. But the limitations are also very important. No ground troops. We repeal the 2002 authorization that was passed at the beginning of the war in Iraq as obsolete and now unnecessary.
And now that is an authorization right after 9/11 that President George W. Bush and President Obama have said still applies, given what you carry on now.
Well, actually, to make it confusing, there were two. There was one right after 9/11 that was the effort to go after Al-Qaeda, and then there was the 2002 authorization with respect to Iraq. And you're right, the White House is claiming that both of those authorizations cover this effort. I don't believe they do. This one would repeal the 2002 Iraq authorization. There's ongoing effort to narrow down the one authorization. There's a one-year sunset in the provision that I put. The mission might go on beyond a year, but it would require the president and Congress to make a decision to continue the effort. And finally, and importantly, my authorization dramatically narrows what the administrations have used as a definition of associated forces. With respect to Al-Qaeda, they say, well, we're going after Al-Qaeda, but